Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Tax Talk. I'm your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. Today we're going to talk about the tax gap. You're going to be hearing a lot about the tax gap. It's everywhere. It's the new worst thing in the world. It's coming though. So let's start the show. Welcome to today's Tax Talk. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about the tax gap today and the IRS enforcement. They go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other because that's what they're using this tax gap about. It's all about enforcement. How can the IRS, how can they get more money to come after business owners to collect more? Because they're spending trillions of dollars and they need the income. So they're trying to figure out, well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to come up with the money without raising taxes? And they're going to raise taxes too. That's in there. So they can't do one without the other. They will raise taxes and they will start collection, and that's just the way it is. Now we've been kind of on a low end of collections. The IRS has pretty much been on a hiatus for the last 18 months since last March. They haven't been as aggressive in collecting because their employees have been at home and they haven't been in the office trying to work. They're getting much more aggressive, and that's really where all this is. This is where it's coming from. You have to be careful because they've already announced that the number of audits are going to go up for small businesses. They'll tell you that they're only going after the wealthy. Well, they are going after wealthy, but in their eyes, you're the wealthy one, right? You're the one that they got to get the money from. So there's a couple. First, let's define what the tax gap is. We'll say the gross tax gap is the difference between true tax liability for a given tax year, and the amount that is paid on time. It is comprised of the non-filing gap, the under-reporting gap, and the underpayment gap. Okay, so let me go back to this map here. So you see on this video or this image here, the gap here is they have under-reporting, under-reporting gap, underpayment gap, and what bridges this gap is enforcement, right? And compliance. So this is how that's how they're going to bridge the gap through enforcement. And so again, when they keep telling you that they're only going to go after the rich, I don't believe it myself. So the reports listed below vary so I'm going to go back and look at historically now in my mind. The tax gap has always been overinflated. They don't know what the number is, right? They are guessing. Because it's something you can't know. You can't know what you don't have or what's out there that people are cheating. So all they're doing is guessing. But they've been guessing the same for years. It's always they've been guessing the same. It's about the same percentage. So if we go down, let me see if I can find this here. This is the gap. So first, let me show you what we have here. This is the tax gap estimates for tax years 2011 to 2013, and you'll see that these estimates on this they're showing the tax gap at $441 billion, and then after everybody pays, it's at about $381 billion, and this is 2013. So the last tax year we have is 2020, and so all of these stats that they're telling us are from 2020. Now they're telling us that the tax gap is over $1 billion. Let me see if I can. IRS chief says $1 trillion, I should say, $1 trillion. It's amazing how you could say a billion. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's a spit in the bucket, right? We're talking about $1 trillion a year. Now, so the IRS chief says it's $1 trillion in taxes goes uncollected. And how could that be? How could it go from 300 or 400 billion dollars to $1 trillion just like that? And and here's the other boogeyman. So the two boogeymen, the tax gap, and what causes the tax gap? Well, according to the commissioner, the tax gap, the difference between taxes legally owed and revenue paid, it's about cryptocurrencies. New sources of wealth arising since then, such as trading in cryptocurrencies, were escaping taxation. Well, they can't know that. They don't know how much cryptocurrency has been bought and sold. It's anonymous. So that's one of the things that they're using to bat people over the head with and try to convince you that this is all what we need, right? We all need more IRS. We need more agents. We need more money because people are stealing, and we need to stop them. This is restarting income tax and levy program and more. At a recent meeting of the government officials and stakeholders, officials at the IRS Return Revenue Service offered updates of the Office of Promoter. This is a new office, Promoter Investigations. And this is for fraud enforcement. So this is criminal, right? And they're going after what a promoter is, promoting cryptocurrency and other types of fraud. That's what they're going after. Right? That's what they're saying is out there that they have to go after. So notices, liens, and levies. The IRS began sending out letters from automated collection system function. Again, it's automated. They've got a huge computer system. They send out these letters and everything automatically. It goes out. And so the automated, now again, as I mentioned, they've been on hold for the last 18 months or 13 months. And now they're starting to gear back up. And I can tell you from my own office, I had a gentleman who hired us. He hadn't filed his taxes in a couple of years, but the only year that they had assessed the tax was from 2016, and he only owed about $4,000. Well, and that's from 2016. He has a revenue officer on them. They levied his, he runs a business. They went to some of his customers, and they levied the customers and told them, hey, don't send him the money now. Send it to us, the IRS. And that was for $4,000. So when they tell you that they're only going after the rich in the big egregious cases, it's just not true, because this is very aggressive. I have clients that owe hundreds of thousands of dollars and from 10 years ago, and they're not going after them. But now they're going after everybody. Doesn't matter how much you owe. They're really coming after people. Unfortunately, there's a backlog on paper, and until that's cleared up, there will be that e-file. They haven't even finished completing all the tax returns this year, right? They haven't processed all the tax returns. There's still a lot of refunds that haven't been issued, and so another thing from my office. People have sent the money to the IRS, and they're still getting notices of deficiency or notices telling them that they owe money, and it's accumulating interest and penalties still, even though they sent the money some months ago. And it's been cashed and cleared the bank, but the IRS doesn't have a record of it, and so they're sending out these automated collection from the automated collection service and sending out these notices saying that they're behind. So even if you're not behind, if they haven't processed your money, you're still behind, and they're still going to come after you. Okay, so but their notice is saying that they never paid. Oh, here it is. That's the downside of restarting the program. They have to do it because otherwise people will get complacent when they think that there's no repercussions for not paying. I don't know who thinks that there's no repercussions for not paying the IRS. I guess some people that's true, or they're just hiding until the IRS comes after them. But most of us here in America, we know that the IRS is the biggest, baddest collection agency out there. This is the Officer of Promoter Investigations. This is a newly created service-wide office headed by This is the office I was just telling you about. Basically, this is a resource any of the divisions can refer to. It's a think tank. How they're thinking, well, how are people buying cryptocurrency? What kind of programs are out there that are trying to defraud? I don't think that there's any more evidence that cryptocurrency is the harbinger of evil that the IRS is making it out to be. But they do need. So you'll see a lot of these stories like this. Shrinking the tax gap requires a renewed IRS workforce. So not only do they need more money, but they need to retrain everybody, and they need to get around the union rules. So the Biden administration estimates the uncollected taxes amount more than $7 trillion over the next 10 years. Again, that's less than the $1 trillion a year that they're telling us now. Now it's up to, they were saying $7 trillion. Now it's over $10 trillion. Well, how'd they get that? It's just an estimate. So it sounds better if they say $1 trillion a year than 400 billion. We've become used to 400 billion not being a lot of money. The workforce has been steadily declining for a quarter century. We talked about this on the show, about why that is, and that there's a lot less work for them to do because a lot of things are automated now that weren't 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And now almost all returns, 94%, I believe, last year, were processed electronically. A lot less manpower is required. Why? Because rebuilding the IRS workforce is not just a numbers game. Rather, in addition to replenishing the ranks, the agency must redefine the skills and expertise required. So the IRS in the future. So they're saying this article is advocating go around the unions and come up with other rules and get different people and pay them differently than every other agency out there. Let's see if we can come up with another story. You'll see this is the same story. Here's an attorney that agrees with me. President Joe Biden wasted no time in bolstering the IRS with an additional influx of employees scheduled over the next decade. The proposal comes as part of a larger package that includes $80 billion for the department for the same time frame. With such a significant increase in capability, one might reasonably wonder whether to expect more tax code enforcement in the coming months and years. Well, of course that's what they're doing. The IRS is leaving billions on the table. Here's how it can collect that money. Well, they go after how they can collect the money. They're talking about a tax gap and that people are stealing from them. There's no evidence of that. But they need more money they do need to collect more because they need to spend more. And we know that the IRS can be very onerous and egregious conduct and going after people who are innocent and catching people who are vulnerable. With COVID, a lot of businesses have gone under and they haven't paid their taxes. And so the IRS is getting very aggressive against these vulnerable people in our society. Now, everybody should pay their tax. Everybody agrees with that. I don't think there's too many of us that would say, hey, you shouldn't pay your tax return, your taxes. But the proposal of what they need to do to stop the tax gap, for instance, one of the proposals is to have all financial institutions report all your bank accounts to the IRS every year so they can go through all of our bank accounts line by line and find out if we're cheating or not. This is kind of counter to America, right? You're innocent until proven guilty. Well, the IRS is saying, well, no, you're guilty until we prove that you're not guilty. You have to prove every year that you haven't cheated. We don't have to prove you did cheat. You have to prove you didn't cheat. And it makes it easier for the IRS, like all governmental bodies. How many times have I heard, if you're not doing anything wrong, what are you worried about? Well, I think that's the beginning of a slippery slope, right? Because what you want people to know is our government and what's illegal, it might be two different things. And so again, when it's like, why shouldn't we have these new Supreme Court case that came out said that that the police can't go in your house and confiscate your guns without a warrant. Well, that makes sense. But if you got nothing to worry about, what are you afraid of? Why shouldn't they be able to? So go down that road. I don't want to go down that road. I hope you don't want to go down that road. So let's try to do something to stop it. So here, what I'm going to ask you though, if you found this interesting, if you learned anything today, I'm going to ask you to like, subscribe, or share this with your friends. It's important to us that you do that. I'm going to ask you to do that. Hit the notification button so you see we come up. We do a new tax talk every day, Monday through Thursday. Friday we do the radio show on Watch Talk Radio. You can go to Watch Talk Radio, see all of this content. It's all there. And so I'm going to add, so again, like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, if you're having IRS problems, you can get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. Go to freeirsbook.com. Again, freeirsbook.com. And you can get a copy of my book for free. I do ask you to pay for a small shipping and handling fee, but I also include some free reports. The 4 things you should know if you have unfiled tax returns, for instance, is one of the reports. The 6 things you can do if you owe the IRS money. The 3 things you should never say to the IRS. Important information that you need. If you have, if you're trying to fight the IRS by yourself, you need this information, and I'm happy to share it with you. So go to freeirsbook.com. Again, go to freeirsbook.com, get a copy of the book, and I'll be happy to share it with you. So thanks so much for joining us here today. I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope we see you again tomorrow. Thanks so much.